Good morning, punters. Welcome to the first review show of our first week of punting the NFL season. Hopefully, a few of you lads had a few collects over the weekend. Seemed a pretty decent week for betting for the most part. We managed to go 6 of 8, which by statistical measures is pretty good, and anything over 15 or 60% is winning long term. So 6 of 8 won't be happening every week. Very good week, and to be fair, I'll give my arguments that we probably could have gone 8 of 8 and got pretty unlucky in some spots, but we'll go through that. So the first game we had was the Bears-Lions under 41.5 team total. Pretty much went as expected. Both teams kind of have pretty average offenses, struggled to move the ball at points. They scored a TD very early, and I would wonder if I'd got the game completely wrong, but the offense slowed pretty quickly, and with the weather slowing things down and game script, points started slowing down, and teams really got into the grind of the game and just tried to win the game. We had 41.5. The total score was 24-14 and finished on 38, which we still was a field goal clear, which is so important in those sort of spots. And there's only 14 points in the whole first half. So the line had got down to about 36 by halftime, and you already beat in the market. So at that point, yeah, the game blew out in the second half, but there's only 14 points in the first half. So I would have felt pretty bad beat if we had got there. The second game was the Bills-Texans under 47.5. Look, the game finished 40-0, and on box score, you go, oh, geez, you got lucky. Houston didn't score any points, but kind of went as expected in terms of scoring. Texans, I didn't expect to score a whole lot, and to be fair, I nearly bet sort of team totals unders for that game. The score was 16 at halftime. This line, again, also got down to 36 at halftime. I was watching it. It was 16-0. We had 47.5. That's 32 points second half, and that's just not often going to happen. And I mean, geez, they're insane to even get to 40. So we cleared that pretty comfortably. While in the box score, you might look at it and think, oh, geez, that was close, but it really didn't feel like it watching the game. Kansas City minus 6.5. Look, Eagles hung in there for quite a while, and they're able to move the ball early, and the Kansas City just couldn't stop any of their screens, any of their pre-snap stuff, and it looked to be a super offensive game. But as soon as Kansas City started to work out Philly's game plan, by about halftime, the defense kind of started to figure things out, and at that point, the offense stopped for the Eagles. Kansas City got turnovers, and like Philly just weren't stopping anything Kansas City today. And this game completely blew out towards the end, and 6.5 for a long way felt like it was the right line until the last sort of 10, 15 minutes. And at that point, I was like, geez, this line could have been 15, 20, and you still would have cruised in. So again, kind of went as expected. Philly, look, I'll give Philly credit. They hung in there for a little while, but I don't think they have the class to sustain whole games. And I don't think they would even want to win, to be fair. The next one was where early in the week, I'd picked the dog and they'd flipped to favorite, and then pre-game they flipped back to underdog. This was a perfect game for the Ravens. They executed exactly how I expected them to, and exactly how they should have. They got into the grind with Denver, and Denver just couldn't put it. They're not a big play or a nice team. They get stuck in the grind, and as soon as they get behind, it becomes very hard for them to control the game. Unless they're controlling game script and controlling the grind, they don't have a whole lot to offer. And Ravens are a team that can kind of play from a few different spots, as we've seen throughout the year. So that's why they felt like a great team. I mean, look, we cashed the -1 pretty comfortably. They won 23-7, but that we missed the 1 to 12, which was the value play, by the fact that Denver got down to the 4-yard line in garbage time and couldn't even punch it in. They had about 3 plays from the 4-yard line and couldn't get a touchdown. And the touchdown, or actually the line was 1 to 13. Apologies on TAB. It's actually 1 to 13. I'm so used to the rugby lines, but 1 to 13 for NFL and 14 plus. So even if they got the field goal there, which I know they're not going to, but if they got a field goal or a touchdown, the 1 to 13 cash is there too. They're 4 yards out, and like it's just painful. I expected the Ravens to get about 20 to 25 points, and I expected Denver to sort of just get more than 7. And so I feel a bit hard done by in that one. Like, it could have easily been 5 from 5 moving into that sort of that late slate. So it was frustrating. 4-yard line, punch it in. We're absolutely flying high at that point. But anyway, we move on. The next game was the Tampa Bay New England game. We had -7. We had Damian Harris over under 54.5, and then total yards, and Jakobi Meyers over 5.5 receptions. I'll start with the player props. Damian Harris rushed for 4 times for -4 yards, and he had 2 catches for 30 yards. All of these 26 net yards, once you figure it out, pretty much all came on the one play. There's one pass where he went for about 20, 25 yards, and that was pretty much it. As mentioned in the last pod, you can back people to not rush on this Tampa Bay defense every single game. That defensive line is incredible, and they'll just keep rushing. You can't run on them, and the problem is not being able to run on them. You fall behind on game script because Tampa Bay offense is so good, and at that point you take away the rushing anyway because you're chasing points and you're starting to throw the ball more. So this line on the game time moved up to about 60, I think, because of the weather, and everyone thought, oh, we're going to get into the rushing game. This line pissed in. Damian Harris didn't even get close. They couldn't get anything on the run game. They had about 5 or 6 rushes attempts all game. They figured out pretty quickly, not going to work. And the defensive line for Tampa Bay just sat in the New England backfield all game. Now, that one was Jakobi Meyers over 5.5 receptions. They started a little bit slow in terms of he had so many drops. It was pretty annoying to be on the overs receptions and see so many drops, especially out of the target of a wide receiver one like him. He had 12 targets. We only needed 6 grabs. He got 8. He had 4 in the first half. So while 8 is maybe a little bit of a low number, it feels, he had 4 in the first half when he needed 2 in the second, and he was looking fine at that point. 12 targets, you're converting those for six catches. So that, again, I think was the right line. And in game script, they, as mentioned, the defensive line, you're not going to be able to run the ball. You have to start throwing it. Brought in all those pass catches. You probably could have bet the overs on all those pass catches and you would have made a little bit of money too. So Jakobi Meyers just felt like the safest guy. And then the last one in that game was the Tampa Bay -7 against New England. Like, I might be talking from my kip here, or from my pocket, but I think that was the most dominant 2-point win I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, maybe I was all over Tampa Bay in terms of both head-to-head and the spread, but they felt so dominant all game. They had about 4 turnovers to New England's 0, I think. They had all the yards. They were rushing for about 5 yards per rush. They had touchdowns get taken off them. They had turnovers get taken off them, or touchdowns get taken. It was dropped, but it should have been grabbed. There was 2 of them. There was flags for about 30 or 40-yard plays that came back, and they just didn't look like terrible offensive flags that should have been called. They had missed field goal, and it was pissing down with rain, and they still won this game. Now, credit to New England. They could have won this game with that field goal late, but at no point did you ever feel like New England were the better team. Tampa Bay were controlling the whole game. All New England were doing the whole day was hanging with. And if this game gets played in the sun on a Sunday afternoon, and I know those primetime games are completely different to in the sun on a Sunday afternoon, but yeah, that game blows out. And it's tough because I stand by Tampa Bay were an extremely dominant team in that game. And hey, you might get good lines on them later in the week because of it, because they won't be seen. They'll just be looking at the box score, but they looked so good in so many things. They just controlled the whole game, really, to be fair, and just got unlucky in a few spots. So yeah, I'm happy with the play there. I think it was just like another Ravens 1-12, where I think it's the right side. You just kind of sometimes don't get the coin flip. That wraps up our bets for week 1. I'll do a little bit of any early lines I like towards the end of it, and then later in the week I'll do an actual preview with maybe some more things if I find anything else. But this one will be based on early review and early lines, and the one on Sunday morning / Sunday afternoon will be based on the week's bets, any additional plays. So I do have a few lines that I like this week. And the first one being the team that we just talked about, New England. I like New England against Houston, and I want the team total over 24 points. It's a flat one on Ladbrokes, over a flat 24. I see that this line's already 24.5 on a lot of books, but Ladbrokes have it at $1.80 over flat 24, and I think that's a key line, right? There's 3 converted touchdowns and a field goal. Anything past that, you start needing another position. So, yeah, I like that line, ladies. I'll play that early. I think that line will move out. I don't think Houston defense are very good at all. And I think that New England to score 17 points on Tampa Bay defense. Everyone gives Tampa their credit for the offense, but their defense is incredible. So score 17 points is quite nice. I'll take the 24 against Houston. Houston haven't been able to really stop anyone this week, the season. So we'll take that. I also like the Rams -1 on Ladbrokes for Seattle. I already see they've moved to 2 on Bet365 and a few other books. I like the one here for Seattle. You get Rams off a loss to the Cardinals. Rams just couldn't stop Kyler Murray and his rushing. His ability to extend plays and drives because of his legs, incredible. And I know Russ is all right at it, but the Seattle offense, you're getting an inflated price because they beat San Fran. And hey, they looked all right, but San Fran didn't look anything special. 2 weeks removed from the fact that they looked awful against Minnesota. And the Rams had just beat Tampa Bay quite convincingly. I think the Rams are one of the favorites to win the whole NFL this year. And I don't think Seattle are going to be there. I think they're just going to be a nice team and a hard team to beat. So I'll take -1. I think that'll move. I'll also take over 27.5 points, total points on all bookies. I think that 28 is a nice number. That's 4 touchdowns. The Seattle defense hasn't really stopped anyone, to be fair. They've been pretty average, and the Rams offense is incredible. They've scored 34 against the Bears, good defense. They scored 27 against Colts, good defense. They scored 34 against the Bucks, good defense. They scored 20 against the Cardinals, bit of a letdown spot, but I think that's the only reason you're getting 27.5. That offense is incredible. They'll be looking for a win. They'll be looking pretty heavy. They want to get back on the board and get their title contention back underway. Seattle have lit in 21 points versus the Niners, 30 points versus the Vikings, 33 points versus the Titans, 16 points against the Colts, who can't do anything. So I'm pretty happy taking 27.5 there. I think that line will probably stay steady. I just want to early play it. Might get to 28.5 and break that next position line again, but I like the 27.5 as an early play. Another one that seems a little bit of a weird one, but I kind of like the Detroit Lions over 19.5 on Bet365 total points against the Vikings. The Vikings did well last week defensively, and they stopped the Browns to about 14 points. But the Lions have scored 14 points, 17 points, 17 points, 33 points. You're getting 19.5 versus Vikings defense that really isn't that good. So I like that. I also like the fact that you the possibility of backdoor. Lions last week were terrible offensively. So you're already getting an inflated price because everyone's already looking down on them in terms of what they did last week. And I think 19.5 is a nice line on Bet365. I see it's already a flat 20 in other spaces. And at a flat 20, it changes positions again. So, yeah, because you go past that boundary of the field goals and touchdowns. So I like the 19.5. I can see this moving out to a 20, maybe even a 21. I don't think that the Vikings defense is all that good. And most importantly, Lions are going to be chasing the game because Vikings are going to be leading for the most part, for all intents and purposes. So you have the possibility of Lions getting a late touchdown, late field goal to sort of budge over. So you're already working with those points, in my opinion. So those are my 4 early plays that I like. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens to those lines over the coming days. And pre-kickoff, I'll be in touch on Sunday if I kind of have any other plays. But yeah, good luck, punters. See you soon.